They thought they could push me out, ban my food truck, and run me off their theme park, but they didn't realize I owned the land under their rides. Everything they built on my property, every roller coaster, every merry-go-round, every cotton candy stand, it all sat on my land, and that mistake would cost them more than they ever imagined. They underestimated me, and that was their first and biggest mistake. Before we dive into the unbelievable story of how I turned the tables on the HOA, make sure you hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and like this video because you won't believe how this battle unfolded. You'll want to see every twist and turn. The first signs of trouble came months before any legal battle. I had been running my food truck at the local theme park, a small, family-friendly operation that had become a hit with visitors. Children and parents lined up for my famous loaded fries and handmade lemonade. It wasn't just a business, it was my passion, my livelihood, and the community loved it. But the HOA, ever vigilant and notoriously strict, had started sending me letters, each more aggressive than the last. They claimed I was violating obscure zoning laws, operating without proper permits, and even threatened to fine me thousands of dollars. Initially, I tried to reason with them, believing that a polite approach would solve the issue. I met with their representatives, provided every document they demanded, and even offered to adjust my operation to meet their demands. But nothing worked. The HOA seemed determined to drive me out, and their next move was bold. They banned my food truck from the theme park entirely. The notice was abrupt, formal, and unmistakably clear. You are no longer permitted to operate within the park. I stared at the letter in disbelief. This was my dream, the very business I had built from scratch. How could they just take it away? But while they saw me as an obstacle to be removed, they didn't see the bigger picture. The land under their rides, their concession stands, even the parking lot where visitors queued. It all belonged to me. I had acquired it years earlier as part of a real estate investment, a small detail I never thought I would need to leverage until now. And with that revelation, the first chapter of my comeback story began. With the legal leverage in hand, I didn't rush to confront the HOA. I observed, gathered evidence, and meticulously documented everything. Every ride, every structure, every inch of the park was mapped and photographed. I discovered just how much of their sprawling operations depended on my property. They had never bothered to secure formal easements, assuming ownership was clear, assuming no one would challenge them. Their arrogance was palpable, and it fueled my determination. I started reaching out to lawyers, crafting plans that would maximize my leverage while minimizing direct confrontation. Meanwhile, the park continued operating as usual, blissfully unaware that their entire empire was sitting on contested land. The first phone calls to legal counsel were cautious, exploratory, but I quickly realized the situation was more advantageous than I could have imagined. The HOA had overstepped in banning my truck, but more importantly, they had no legal foothold on the land itself. The realization that the very ground they walked on was under my control changed everything. I spent nights poring over property deeds, zoning maps, and historical documents, building a case that was ironclad. The stage was set for a battle, but it wasn't just a legal battle. It was about reclaiming respect, asserting control, and showing that even small businesses could stand up to the most powerful community authorities. As the days passed, I knew that the moment to act would come soon, and I had to be ready. The park's daily operations, full of oblivious visitors enjoying rides and cotton candy, continued, but I was quietly preparing to turn the tables. When the day finally came to act, it was as dramatic as anyone could imagine. I arrived early in the morning, armed with legal notices and backed by my lawyer. The HOA members who had dismissed me for months were caught completely off guard. The notices outlined in painstaking detail my ownership of the land and the legal implications of continuing to operate without my consent. Roller coasters, Ferris wheels, and even the beloved carousel, they all sat on my property. I demanded immediate acknowledgement of my rights and compensation for the use of my land. The HOA scrambled, their confident demeanor evaporating under the weight of irrefutable evidence. What had been a slow-burning frustration for me had now escalated into a dramatic reversal of power. Media crews, tipped off by my team, began arriving, capturing the astonished reactions of both the HOA and the park visitors. Social media buzzed with footage of the confrontation, highlighting the David versus Goliath nature of the battle. The entire scene was surreal. The very people who had tried to erase me from the park were now negotiating access and paying rent to the person they had tried to exclude. My food truck returned to the park, more popular than ever, while the HOA scrambled to secure their legal position. The first victory was mine, but it was only the beginning. Even after reclaiming control, the aftermath required careful navigation. I didn't want to destroy the park or its attractions. I wanted acknowledgement and fair treatment. Agreements were drafted, rent was calculated, and permissions formalized. The community, once skeptical of my presence, now viewed me as both a shrewd entrepreneur and a defender of fairness. The food truck became a symbol, a reminder that knowledge, preparation, and determination could challenge even the most entrenched authorities. The HOA, humbled and cautious, approached future matters with far more respect, realizing that underestimating someone could lead to unexpected consequences. As months passed, my business thrived, the park continued operating, and I had secured both my rights and my reputation. The lesson was clear. Power is not always held by those who appear in control, and ownership, both literal and strategic, can shift the balance in unimaginable ways. The saga ended not with destruction, but with vindication, respect, and a lasting impact on the local community. Visitors still lined up for my food, but now they also marveled at the story behind the meals, a narrative of resilience, intelligence, and unwavering courage. If you enjoyed watching how I turned the tables on a powerful HOA, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an incredible story like this. Share this video with your friends. Leave a comment and be part of our journey uncovering the most shocking and satisfying HOA dramas. You won. Believe what happens next.